Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to talk about one most important service of Amazon, and we call it EC2. Yeah. So EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay. Now these are the 5 points that you have to consider when we are talking about EC2. Yeah. 1 second. And I'm going to share my screen. So EC2 is a elastic cloud computing a platform in which we can able to create virtual machine. Okay, so keep these 5 points into the mind. The first is a web service that provides secure, resizable compute capacity in the cloud. It is designed to make web scale cloud computing easier for the developers. Okay, so if you have application and you want to host this application into the servers, yeah, so you are having two options now. First is you can create you can buy on premises physical server, and then you can host your web application or any application inside this server. Now if you don't want to do this, you can go to the EC2, and here you can create your server. Okay, now the biggest advantage of EC2 is you can able to resize compute capacity of your server. Yeah, and you can these servers are basically highly scalable, right? So this is first point that you have to consider. The second is Amazon EC2 reduce the time required to obtain and boot new servers instance to a minute. Yeah. For example, let's assume that you are having one application and you want to host this, and you are selecting on premises option. Yeah. So in this case, you have to order to your vendor, then vendor will send this server to your company, and then you have to install operating system, and then you can able to install application. Yeah. So it will take time. Okay, it will you have to invest lots of money for that also. Yeah, so if you're going to use EC2 instance, you can create your server within a minute. Okay, now third point, allow you to quickly scale capacity both up and down as your compute requirement changes. Yeah, now as I explained you in earlier video, I explained you about scalability. Yeah, so one of the characteristics is scalability. So whenever you require high capacity, you can increase the compute capacity of server, and if you don't want, you can decrease this. Okay, so basically cloud is always highly, like cloud always provide elasticity. Yeah, so whenever you create any EC2 instance here, whenever we will create any servers in the EC2 platform, we call it instance. Yeah, so whenever you create any instance, you have to create with the proper capacity. Now if you are not satisfied with the performance, you can increase the capacity by using single click, or you can decrease the capacity as well. Okay, so there will be elasticity. Allow you to pay only for capacity that you are actually using. Okay, so you do not need to pay capital expenditure, you do not need to pay any advance payment. Whenever you use, it will, yeah, you have to pay this as per minute billing. Yeah, so you can set your capacity and you have to pay your server bill as per your resources only. Yeah, so you can use Amazon EC2 to launch as many as few virtual server as you need to know as instance. Okay, so here you can create instance. Okay, so let me give you this introduction screen of AWS EC2 platform. Yeah, so you have to go to the EC2. When you go to the services, you will get list of all the services, and in the compute you will get all these compute services. Yeah, we'll talk about all the services step by step, but today we are going to talk about EC2. Yeah, so when you go to the EC2, you will get detail about your virtual machines in this particular platform. Yeah, now when you go to the EC2, okay, you will get this dashboard. Okay, So right now running instance is like 0. I don't have any running instance. Okay, instance in all state means instance in a stop state, deleted instance, all this you will get over here. Okay, we'll talk about all this in upcoming sessions, but yes, this is our first service and we call it EC2 dashboard, and from this EC2 dashboard we'll create a virtual machine, and this virtual machine is known as instances. Yeah, so now you may have confusion about virtual machine. Yeah, so if your concept about virtual machine is not clear, let me clear this concept of virtual machine, and then we'll talk about then we'll create EC2 instances, right? So let me start my whiteboard. So basically in a normal circumstances, yeah, like before virtual machine comes into the picture, the scenario was like this. Okay, if we have application, we have to buy hardware. Okay, this is hardware. On the top of hardware, we have to install operating system, and on the top of operating system we have to install application. Yeah, so actually this is we call a one-to-one scenario. Yeah, so if you have one piece of hardware, you can install only one operating system. Okay, and then you can install only one application. We are talking about a higher end application. Yeah, we are talking about SQL server, Microsoft Exchange server, and all this. Okay, so you cannot install a Microsoft SQL server and Exchange server into the single computer. Okay, so because there is a one-to-one relationship between hardware and operating system, there is also a one-to-one relationship between OS to the OS and application as well. Yeah, so it was a very expensive solution. Why? Because if you have multiple application, you have to buy multiple hardware as well. Okay, so it is like again hardware, again OS, and then application, right? So this was the scenario before 2000, and we called it physical machine. Okay, we call it physical machine. Now in the physical machine, you cannot able to install multiple operating system, and because you cannot install multiple operating system, you have to have a multiple hardware. Yeah, and now in 2000 VMware comes into the picture, and they develop one software, and we called hypervisor. Okay, so the scenario has been changed after VMware, because using hypervisor you can able to install multiple operating system into the single hardware. Yeah, so the scenario is like this. You have hardware, and then you have to install hypervisor. Okay, the VMware ESXi, it is called VMware ESXi. Okay, and name is like a hypervisor. So you have to use this hypervisor. Okay, and top of the hypervisor you can able to install multiple operating system. Okay, so you can install more than one operating system. This is based on the capacity of your hardware. Yeah, and then on the top of OS you can install application. Okay, so this particular system we call it virtualization. Yeah, we call it virtualization, and if you are using this machine, we called it virtual machine. Okay, so we are having this scenario. It is like a before 2000, and we called it physical machine. Yeah, and now we have this virtual machine environment because of this hypervisor. Yeah, there is a different product and different hypervisor. For example, VMware having ESXi. Okay, and Microsoft having Hyper-V. Okay, Now if you are using machine on the top of hypervisor, we call it virtual machine. Yeah, we call it virtual machine. Okay, and whenever you are going to use Amazon EC2 instance, okay, you are getting this type of virtual machine. Okay, so keep this in mind. We will not get physical machine, but VMware EC2 instance, it is means a virtual machine. Okay, now if you are using this type of scenario, okay, in this case, this particular machine which is having hypervisor, yeah, we call it host. Yeah, this is this two hypervisor with the hardware, we called it host. Okay, and virtual machine running inside this hypervisor, we call it guest. Okay, we call it guest. Now keep this scenario in mind, because when we will learn more about EC2 instance, we'll talk about dedicated host also. Okay, so this is a first lesson about EC2. Okay, now in the next session we'll talk about some of the characteristics, some of the required point, and then we will create EC2 instance. Okay, now if you have any question, you can ask into the comment. I will try to give answer as soon as possible. Okay, so see you in the next video.